Hey guys, happy Sunday morning. So my persuasive speech is going to be about joining or creating a neighborhood watch for your block. So my first point would be identifying and knowing your neighbors. So one of the advantages of being part of a neighborhood watch is that you'll be able to meet the majority of your neighbors. And this is a good thing since if you don't already know them, you'll be able to identify who your neighbors are and pretty much build a good friendship with the majority of the good folks who live around you. Another advantage is actually being able to identify those of the bad apples on your street, who actually might be criminals. And I know that although most of us have worked hard all our lives to finally find a place to rent or buy in a really safe and peaceful neighborhood, there's always one or two bad apples on the street. So that's another good way of kind of identifying who they are and knowing what they do and who they hang out with, who their family members are too. The next point I want to make is thinking about the children and the elderly. I believe one of the best advantages of being in a neighborhood watch is that you'll be able to know all the kids and the elderly on your block if you haven't had the time to do so already. This is great because if the children ever get lost or if the elderly is walking about and they fall, at least they know who you are and they'll be more willing to ask you for your help or approach you for all the small little, even a small little thing, which is good. Building friendships is always positive. This is, from my experience as a police officer, this is actually more important not because for the children who sometimes run away, but more for the elderly adults. Usually folks will get to know the elderly on the block, and if they ever have a medical emergency or if they see them fall, they'll be able to tell the paramedic or the police officer what's going on without having the actual family member there. So that's usually a huge plus. For example, my grandpa suffers from not depression, but dementia. He suffers from dementia. And despite our best efforts, when myself, my mom, my aunt are not there, my grandpa sometimes uses like a Jedi mind trick or tricks my grandma and he somehow gets out of the house. The neighbors are usually able to find, once the neighbors see him, they stop him and they either give us a call or they just usher him home, which is really awesome. The third major point I want to touch on to joining the neighborhood watch is being able to meet police officers. So being part of the neighborhood watch, you will be able to meet and work with a specific officer that is assigned to your part of the city or your specific block. From the police officer, you'll be able to get some current crime stats. If you guys have questions about any current investigations, we'll go ahead and answer those questions as long as they don't jeopardize the investigation itself. And you guys will be able to advise the officers of suspicious people or activity that has been going around the neighborhood, and officers will go ahead and return that same favor, so you guys could be on the lookout as well. This is also, going back to the kids and elderly again, this is also important, because if the kids and the elderly are able to come in contact with the same officer at least once a month, they'll be able to build a relationship with that officer or officers. And the children and the elderly will then be more willing to ask for help, more willing to approach the police and call 911 if they need anything, which is always a good thing. And I just want to quickly touch on bring children into this neighborhood watch. Usually there's this misconception that's only for adults, which is wrong. If those joining the neighborhood watch actually bring their kids to those meetings, kids will be able to be more acceptable around being police officers and identifying them as a resource and not as an enemy. So we're trying to have, we're trying to get parents to get away from telling their kids, oh, there's an officer, if you're not good today, we're going to make sure we call the police and arrest you. Usually if that happens around me or my other officers, we would give the kids a sticker and say, hey, how about we take your parents to jail for being mean? It's not nice. There's no reason to do that. In fact, that puts like a negative connotation on officers already at such a young age, which that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a good relationship with the with everyone from a young age. Therefore, we could build a better society. Number 4. Another good reason to join Neighborhood Watch is surveillance or protection. If you care about someone, you're more likely to look after their home, more likely to look after their family, especially with all of our busy lives going on. And police officers can't be everywhere at once. So it would behoove everyone in the neighborhood to help the police officers and help yourselves protect each other. So it would be really cool, or what do you think it would be really cool to have surveillance cameras around the whole entire block? I would think so. I can't tell you how helpful it is as an officer to be able to go to a house and they have either a Waze camera or a Ring, and we'll be able to review the footage to see how the crime occurred, get suspect information. And it's also really important tracking down missing kids and elderly who do go missing. It also helps for car accidents, or in the middle of the night if a drunk driver hits your vehicle or your neighbor's vehicle, we'll be able to get suspect information that way, which is always very helpful. I don't work for Waze, obviously, but I bought a couple Waze cameras and I installed them around this house and also my grandparents' house. So my grandparents' house, there's about 7 or 8 of them, and both inside and out. And it's WYZE. It's only about $25 to $30 a camera. And of course you have to buy your own micro SD card as memory if you choose to have memory, which is the advantage of it. And it has 1080p both night vision and daytime, which is pretty awesome. Another good reason to join a Neighborhood Watch, is to build a rapport with the city council members. Unfortunately, in this world, it's not. To get things going, we need to know the right people. City council members are the ones who make the big decisions of changes in the city itself. So anything related to crime, obviously that's for the police, but everything else is actually on city council members. So whether you guys want to repave a road, to add more trees to a park, to expand a park, or to say, hey, no, let's not build a Walmart there or a Target there because it attracts more crime, those are the things that must be addressed with city council members. So being part of Neighborhood Watch would actually give you an opportunity to talk to the city council members more. And the last point, but also I believe is a very important point, is anti-bullying for children on the block. And I know I touched a lot on the elderly and children for this Neighborhood Watch topic. But I honestly believe Neighborhood Watch is mostly important, not only to just deter crime and to help survey the area for criminals, but mostly to protect our children and the elderly. Bring the kids to the Neighborhood Watch will not only let them have an opportunity to have a relationship with police officers, but also with other kids on the block, whether they're older or younger. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of bullying going on. Now there's also cyberbullying, not only in person at school anymore, but even when they go home and they're on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat, and now we have cyberbullying as well. So it's very stressful to be us humans these days. And having the kids go to the Neighborhood Watch is like having another support system, having the neighbors on both sides and the other side of the street to take care of them, other resources to talk to. Unfortunately, from my experience, there have been a lot of children who have been committing suicide recently and cutting themselves because of bullying. So having a Neighborhood Watch is just giving them more resources and more people that care about them to give them the time for them to talk to speak to. So if you're not part of a Neighborhood Watch program, please consider the idea of going to your local police department, starting one. Usually, if you go on a weekday, you'll be automatically directed to an officer who's responsible for either your block or your side of the city. So I hope you guys join Neighborhood Watch to not only protect yourself, but your neighbors and all of the ones we love. And thank you.